Now at 11, bullets fly through the window of a TriMet bus, the latest shooting in a record-setting year. Also tonight, putting a name to the statistics.
She's my little sister, and I love her.
What we've learned about one of the recent victims of Portland's surge in gun violence. Plus,
how do you tell a church that they can't feed people?
Why an Oregon church has been told to scale back their services for the homeless. But first, hospitals again are running out of room. KGW News starts now. And our top story at 11, cases of COVID-19 are on the decline, but we are not out of the woods. Across the state, hospitals are still strained. In fact, at OHSU, a memo notified staff the emergency department is now at capacity. Alma McCarty learned why that is and how hospitals statewide are dealing with this. Alma?
Well, in Portland, emergency departments hitting capacity and diverting patients to another trauma center isn't uncommon. In fact, there's a whole system in our area to make sure people get to the place with the most resources on hand to receive the best care. But what OHSU and other hospitals are dealing with is an unprecedented strain.
More than a year and a half into the pandemic, and the conditions inside hospitals are dire as ever. OHSU alerting its team this week to yet another capacity situation, noting a critical lack of ICU beds and more patients than ever before admitted to the emergency department. Per the notice, OHSU is diverting patients to other hospitals, assessing all surgical cases in the operating rooms, and seeking out more nurses. Dave Northfield with the Oregon Association for Hospitals and Health Systems explains how these new challenges aren't unique to just one hospital or even one area.
Oregon has the lowest per capita hospital bed count of any state in the country. Generally, that's a good thing, actually, because we have a very efficient system. But when you take that same system and add a pandemic on top of it, and add all those resources, and then layer on a staffing crisis, it creates a really terrible situation. And that's what we've been seeing for the last couple months.
Keep in mind, the Delta variant played a big role in the surge, but not every one of these current hospitalizations is related to COVID.
There are patients who have maybe delayed care during the pandemic, and then they're showing up now, and their conditions are more severe, so they might be staying in the hospital longer.
Add in a severe staffing shortage. Recent national data shows 1 in 5 healthcare workers left their position or the profession entirely during the pandemic.
It's not as if there are other nurses and other clinicians who are available to hire and come to Portland. There aren't.
Northfield says the immediate goal for all
hospitals are trying to just get through this surge and this capacity crisis any way they can.
Northfield predicts hospitals will be on the other side of the crisis by early 2022. Then he says everyone involved in healthcare needs to take a good long look at how to make these systems better.
Everybody agrees that this is not the last time when we're going to be stretched in this way.
The Oregon Health Authority keeps track of ICU and non-ICU bed capacity by region. We'll have a link to that on our website. Health officials noted here, though, that staffing limitations aren't captured in that data, meaning hospitals are often more strained than the numbers show.
For us, Alma, thank you so much. Developing news tonight, Portland police are asking for tips after a bullet hit a TriMet bus. This happened around 10:40 last night on Southwest 5th and Oak. You can see in these photos the bullet went right through the driver's side window. Police say 2 people were fighting nearby before the shots were fired. There was just the driver and 1 passenger on the bus at the time of this shooting. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Meanwhile, tonight we're hearing from a family grieving the latest victim of Portland's surge in gun violence. Their loved one's death set a new record for homicides in the city. Here's Christine Pitawanich.
It's been the hardest week for my entire family, the hardest week of our lives.
Dustin White's little sister, Ashley Walker, was one of 2 people shot and killed in a Northwest Portland apartment on Sunday.
To lose her so tragically and without warning or anything, I mean, it's devastating.
He says his sister loved life.
She was beautiful. She was loving. She had a passion for life. She loved music. She's really into cosplay and dressing up as like Princess Leia from Star Wars. And she loved to take her kids to like Comic-Con.
But her vibrant and joyful life was cut short. Investigators say the man who allegedly killed Walker, Michael Van Domelen, had told police he'd been using meth and heard voices in his head telling him to shoot people.
I, of course, blame her killer, but I also place a lot of blame on the leadership in Portland, Oregon.
White believes more could have been done to prevent his sister's death and says city and state leaders need to better address mental health and substance abuse issues.
It's just going to continue devastating family after family, and that's not fair. There are things that people can do. They need to try harder.
He doesn't know much about Daniel Davis, the man who was also killed in the apartment. All he knows is his sister was friends with him and was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
She's my little sister, and I love her. And my family's going to miss her severely.
Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
Our hearts go out to that family. We do want to add Walker leaves behind 2 sons, ages 14 and 8, and loved ones have set up a GoFundMe to help pay for funeral expenses and support those kids. Now let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. Kids as young as 5 will likely be able to get Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine early next month. The Food and Drug Administration today approved it for children ages 5 to 11. Pfizer says in tests, its vaccine was nearly 91% effective at preventing symptomatic illness in children. Portland Fire says scaffolding failed under a construction worker in the city today, leaving him stranded 60 feet off the ground. The rope rescue team was called out to help. This happened at a building near the Broadway and Sandy interchange at Northeast Portland. Thankfully, the crew was able to hook up with that worker and lower him safely to the ground. And no surprise here, Portland Public Schools will hold its school board meetings virtually all through the month of November. This comes after protesters and activists brought a PPS meeting to a grinding halt earlier this week. They were angry the board was considering mandating vaccines for students. Many of them, as you can see, refused to wear masks indoors. You can find the next live streamed meeting Tuesday on the PPS Communications YouTube page. Well, heading south, a city on Oregon's coast says a local church is feeding the homeless too much. So they introduced an ordinance limiting how often churches can give away food. And a local reverend says good luck getting him to comply. The city council in Brookings voted unanimously this week to limit churches to handing out food 2 days per week. Throughout the pandemic, St. Timothy's Episcopal Church has been serving food as much as 4 to 6 days per week. The reverend says as many as 70 people regularly show up. Over the summer, neighbors complained about the increases in trespassing, theft, and other crimes. And this week, the city council passed that new ordinance. St. Timothy's, however, is not backing down.
We've already been given the application for the permit. We're not going to fill it out. At some point, there'll be a deadline that we'll miss. At some point, we'll get sent a fine, that we're being fined. We'll refuse to pay. And that's when we'll file a lawsuit in federal court, and we'll let the judge decide if we'll let the judge decide if our constitutional right to exercise our religion through the feeding of people in a soup kitchen in our church basement is protected by the First Amendment.
So neighbors of the church declined our requests for interviews. We have left messages with Brookings city officials, but we have not yet heard back. We'll let you know if we do.